So, as most of you all know, I recently went on a trip to South Africa to attend the Global Young Persons Convocation for the United Methodist Church. It was a gathering of youth and young adults from around the world coming together to discuss the procedures of the Methodist Church and then create and vote on legislation. So this being my first time out of the country, the 16-hour flight from Houston was a rude awakening. Luckily, there was a wide selection of movies to watch, and I definitely took advantage of it. We landed in Qatar around 6 p.m., where it was a cool 108 degrees Fahrenheit. We had a 10-hour layover there, so we got the opportunity to see the city. I went to the market with a group of people, and I got to see the culture. I even had a chicken shawarma, and it was one of the best things I've ever had. So next time you're in Qatar, get a chicken shawarma. Next, we went back to the hotel, and I took a very, very short nap. Then we had to head back to the airport, and we boarded our flight. It was another long 10-hour flight. Finally, we landed in South Africa around 10 a.m. We ended up getting to the hotel around 2, was in my room by 2:30, and then I decided to take a 30-minute nap. Nothing could go wrong. Except when I woke up 9 hours later, and that was only because my roommate arrived. Lesson number 1 of South Africa, jet lag is real. The next day, our day didn't really start until 2 p.m. because we had to wait for everyone to arrive. We checked in and got this super cool t-shirt and a water bottle. We also received our translation devices, which basically became my best friend. We had about 6 translators in the back, and you would tune into your channel, and you would hear what the speaker was saying in real time in your language. The only things they didn't translate were prayers and songs. Then we had our first worship service, and everyone was kind of sheltered and didn't really engage. But by the end of the week, that totally changed. Thursday is when the real business started. We woke up around 6 a.m. and got broken up into small groups based on voting and non-voting members. I was in B, non-voting, 8. Small groups was one of my favorite times of the day. Our small group had very similar ideas and morals, but were from very different walks of life. We had Ruga from Zimbabwe, Fever and Kevin from Nigeria, Maya from the Western Province of China, and from the United States, me, my friend Mutelia, and from Nebraska, and Bishop Warner Brown from California. So when it came to topics we had to discuss, like immigration, child marriages, and sex trafficking, we all had very different input and experiences and input on the subject. It made me super aware and interested about what was going on in the world. On Friday, we had our excursion day where we randomly got assigned to a museum. I lucked out and got the Apartheid Museum. It was the big ticket item and everyone wanted to go. It was a really well put together museum, and it was especially cool because we went the week of Nelson Mandela's 100th birthday. Then we did a little exploring. Afterwards, I attended an optional meeting about the Commission on a Way Forward's 3 ideas about human sexuality and what will be presented and voted on at the General Conference in 2019. Then we went to dinner and had worship. Worship was a really awesome time where we sang songs from around the world, and even if we didn't really know the words, we sang them wholeheartedly, and by the end of our time, we all kind of had the words memorized. And a little side note here, I really like Texas sunsets, but I'm now a firm believer that South African sunsets are the best. Saturday, we woke up on a mission to present, amend, and vote on the legislation we had written throughout the week. We had 6 things to vote on. Easy enough, right? No. To get an idea of how long it took, we started going over the procedures and rules of how legislating was going to work at 8 a.m. and we finished at noon. The rest of the day was super intriguing and insightful, but also the longest day. After dinner, we had our last stretch of legislation for the day, and we had a surprise drum circle. A group performed, and then everyone got a drum, and they taught us some rhythms. That's the point where I learned I have 0 hand-eye coordination, and I tried though. It was a great thing to lift everyone's spirits after an intense emotional day. We went into the last session around 8 p.m., and around 11, me and a few people walked to a gas station not too far away and got some much-needed refreshments for our jurisdiction. Then we went to bed around 2 a.m., but that did not stop us from waking up at 6 a.m. the next day. We continued our extensive legislation process till around 2. Then we had lunch and some free time. All of my free time during the week was spent playing intense games of Frisbee. Then we had cultural night. Every jurisdiction presented something from their culture. My jurisdiction presented what freedom of speech looks like in America and how it has affected our culture, because unfortunately that was privilege not everyone there had. After that, we headed to bed. Sadly, that was our last full day in Joburg. We got up at 4 a.m. bright and early Monday morning and started heading to a safari. It was a 2-hour drive, so luckily I got some sleep. Here are some really cool pictures my friend took from the safari. On our safari, we got to see a huge herd of zebras, some giraffes, white rhinos, colorful birds. I don't really know the name to it, but it was colorful. It was a bird. Some lions, and then some lions. After a 3-hour safari, we headed to the airport and had to say goodbye to the beautiful land and people of South Africa. We headed home with 2 more long flights ahead of us. We safely landed in Houston on Tuesday, July 24th at 5 p.m. I learned that I have a passion for church, government, and politics, which is totally out of character for me. I also learned how unaware I am about things that are really going on in the world. With this experience, I think I'm going to continue learning about the law side of the Methodist Church and also be more attentive and aware about what's going on in the world. I'm so grateful for this opportunity and experience, and I'm so thankful for the church for your constant encouragement and support in everything I do. I made some amazing memories and friends that I will cherish forever. Now to the sermon part. While I was in South Africa, the theme for GYPC was United We Go, because we all united with a common passion for the church and young adults in the church, youth and young adults in the church to be fully represented. While listening to a sermon, I heard an African proverb that really stuck with me. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's a very simple, clear message, and it sounds easy enough to follow. But it's our human nature to want to take over. We want to be in charge. We want to do it our way, and we are convinced our way is the best way. We as a society are all too often too stubborn to even begin working together. Going together does not necessarily mean thinking the same. Like-minded people can accomplish great things together, but people who don't think the same can really affect change. People who have different viewpoints, different backgrounds, and different ideas of how things should go. That's when real problem solving happens, because you're having a chance to see the other side of the story. Try being in their shoes and look at it through their eyes. It might be hard, but you have to at least try if you truly care. The 12 disciples traveled and learned from Jesus, and once he died, they carried out his teachings. They did good, but they had their issues. Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Matthew was a tax collector, the lowest of the low. And Thomas easily doubted Jesus on many occasions. In fact, he was the only disciple not present at on the first Easter Sunday because he refused to believe in the resurrection. They were an unlikely group of men, but that's who Jesus chose, and they all united with a shared belief and love of Jesus and his teachings, and a passion to go out into the world and share Jesus' stories. At the convention in South Africa, we all had a passion for the church and youth and young adults, but in no way did we have the same ideas. We all came from different places where the culture is very different. I had a hard time adjusting to how foreign everything was. It took me a long time to understand why other people didn't think the same as me on things I thought were obviously wrong and unjust. I had to listen and try to understand where they were coming from. I finally realized it was a global conference. Not everyone's going to relate to everything we talk about. In some places, topics that we talked about were punishable by death. I had to really put myself in the other person's shoes and imagine what I would do in that situation. There was another time at the convention when we were talking about human sexuality and our options to move forward as a church. In part of the presentation, there was a term regarding human sexuality that someone kept going back to and asking questions about. Everyone was kind of getting impatient with him because to us it seemed pretty clear as to what we were talking about and what it meant. And we felt it was pointless to keep focusing on it. There was a heated back and forth between the council and the speaker. Also during that time there were translation issues because the speaker was talking too fast for the translators to keep up. In all that was happening, people got really upset because it felt as though we were wasting valuable time on something that had already been covered. Finally, the English translator in the back had to step in and inform everyone in the room that the term we were talking about was not a word in the speaker's native language, so he had no context and nothing to relate it to. Most people in the room were quick to make assumptions and didn't have or seek full information before they got frustrated. We discounted the fact that what he was saying because we felt it wasn't important, but in reality, we were all misunderstanding each other. Looking back in our scripture in Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 12, it says, 3 are even better than 1, for a triple-braided cord is not easily broken. Each individual cord is strong and independent, but together they are stronger and more dependable. Our communities, our country, and even our own Methodist Church is at a dividing point. The only way things can get better, truly better, not just slapping on another Band-Aid for a temporary fix, is to listen. Try your very best to look at it from every angle and be willing to think different, because the system of divide never worked for anyone.
Those